The alien empire of Valir had ruled its sector of space for over 4,000 cycles. Its cities were carved from crystal stone, its fleets were feared, and its throne had never bent to an outsider. At the center of it all sat Queen Arelis, the youngest ruler in Valir history, yet already burdened with more pressure than most queens faced in a lifetime. She stood alone on the balcony of the high palace, looking down at the endless lights of her capital world. From above, the city looked peaceful. From within, it was anything but. The empire was weakening. Border systems had begun to fall silent. Old allies demanded more protection while offering less in return. Ancient enemies sensed blood in the void and tested Valir defenses again and again. Even inside the palace walls, the queen felt the tension, nobles whispering, generals arguing, councils divided. And now, she was about to do something no Valir ruler had ever done. She was going to marry a human. Behind her, the doors to the council chamber opened with a soft echo. Queen Arelis turned as her advisors entered one by one. Their faces showed what their words often hid: fear, doubt, and barely contained anger. "The human delegation has arrived," said High Counselor Vethrak, his voice stiff. "He comes alone. No guards, no fleet." Murmurs spread through the room. "An insult," one noble hissed. "A joke," another muttered. "A mistake," a general said openly. Arelis raised one clawed hand, and the chamber fell silent. "The agreement was clear," she said calmly. "A symbolic union. A bond. Humanity offers alliance and long-term support. In return, Valir avoids war on 3 fronts. Vethrak's eyes narrowed. "Your Majesty, humans are not known for strength. They have no ancient fleets, no god machines, no empire worth fearing. This marriage makes us look desperate." The queen did not argue. She already knew how it looked. That was exactly why she had chosen it. Moments later, the human entered. He was underwhelming. That was the first thought shared silently by nearly everyone in the chamber. He was tall, but not towering. His body was lean, not armored. He wore a simple dark uniform with no shining medals, no visible weapons, no symbols of rank that alien eyes could easily read. His hair was dark, his face calm, his eyes alert but not aggressive. He stopped a respectful distance from the throne and bowed his head. "I am Elias Morgan," he said in clear, steady, basic, representative of the Terran Union. No dramatic speech, no demand, no fear. Queen Arelis studied him closely. She had expected arrogance or nervousness. She saw neither. "Welcome to Valir," she replied. "You stand before your future queen." Elias lifted his head and met her gaze. Not challengingly, not submissively, simply, evenly. "I am honored," he said, "and grateful for your trust." That single word, trust, made several nobles bristle. The marriage ceremony took place 3 days later. It was grand, as tradition demanded. Thousands gathered in the palace halls. Holo recorders broadcast the event across the empire and beyond. The queen stood in ceremonial armor, glowing with royal energy. Elias stood beside her, unarmored, hands folded calmly in front of him. As vows were exchanged, the crowd watched in uneasy silence. Whispers spread fast. "She married a weakling. Is he her hostage or her pet? This will not save us." Elias felt every stare but did not react. He spoke the vows with respect, promising loyalty, partnership, and shared burden. When it was done, he placed his hand gently over the queen's, following Valar custom perfectly even though no one remembered teaching it to him. That detail did not go unnoticed by Arelis. Later that night, as celebrations continued, the queen met Elias privately for the first time. The royal chamber was quiet, shielded from listening devices. Arelis removed her crown and studied the human carefully. "You understand," she said slowly, "that most of my people believe this marriage will fail." Elias nodded. "Yes. You understand they believe you are weak." "Yes. And yet," she said, stepping closer, "you do not seem afraid." Elias considered his answer. "Fear is useful only when it sharpens judgment. Otherwise, it wastes energy." Arelis blinked. That was not a typical answer. You are not what I expected, she admitted. Neither are you, Elias replied gently. Days passed, then weeks. The Empire's situation worsened. Enemy fleets gathered near Valier borders. Trade routes were attacked. A long, silent rival species broke an ancient ceasefire. Military councils grew louder, more desperate. Through it all, Elias observed, he attended meetings but rarely spoke. When he did, his words were simple and precise. He asked questions others avoided. He listened more than he talked. Generals found his calm presence unsettling. One night, alarms rang through the palace. An emergency session was called. Aurelius arrived to find the council in chaos. The Car Dominion fleet has crossed into our inner systems, a commander shouted. They outnumber us 2-1. Our outer defenses have failed, another said. We cannot hold them. Vethrak turned to the queen. We must retreat. Or surrender. Silence fell. Aurelius felt the weight of the crown heavier than ever. She looked toward Elias. He stood quietly at the edge of the chamber, hands behind his back. Eyes focused not on the panic, but on the data streams floating in the air. What do humans advise in moments like this? She asked him suddenly. Every eye turned. Elias did not answer right away. Instead, he stepped forward. May I speak freely? He asked. You are my consort, Aurelius said. Speak. Elias nodded once. The enemy believes Valier is alone. They believe your allies are weak or divided. They believe this marriage was an act of desperation. That much was obvious. What they do not believe, he continued, is that humanity prepares long before it is seen. Vethrak scoffed. Prepare with what? Words? Elias turned to him calmly. With patience. The queen studied Elias closely. What are you saying? I am saying, Elias replied, that humanity does not reveal its strength unless it must. And when it does, it ends conflicts quickly. The room grew tense. Do you have forces here? A general demanded. Elias shook his head. No. Then what good? But, Elias interrupted gently, I have authority. That word changed everything. Aurelius straightened. Authority over what? Elias met her gaze. For the first time since arriving, something shifted in his eyes. Not aggression, but certainty. Over humanity's last resort protocols. The council erupted. That is meaningless. You dare threaten us with fiction? This is not the time for human myths. Aurelius raised her hand for silence. Explain, she ordered. Elias inclined his head. When humanity sends a representative without protection, without demands, without visible power, it is never because they are helpless. The queen felt a strange chill. What happens now? She asked quietly. Elias looked toward the stars beyond the palace walls. Now, he said, you decide whether to trust me as your partner or face the coming storm without what humanity has prepared. The alarms continued to echo through the palace. Outside, enemy fleets moved closer, and for the first time, Queen Aurelius wondered if the quiet human she had married was not her empire's weakness, but its final hope. The War Council chamber felt smaller than before. Holographic stars filled the air, showing red warning symbols spreading across Valier space. Enemy fleets moved with steady purpose, their formations tight and confident. Every projection told the same story. Valor was running out of time. Queen Aurelius sat on the central throne, her posture straight, her expression controlled. Inside, her thoughts raced. She had ruled long enough to recognize hopeless situations, and this one pressed hard against her instincts. Across the chamber, Elias stood quietly. No armor, no visible weapon, no sign of fear. That disturbed the generals more than panic ever could. The Car Dominion fleet will reach the capital system in less than 6 cycles, said Fleet Commander Rhynak. Our remaining forces cannot stop them. We could still negotiate, suggested a noble, his voice shaking. Offer territory. Tribute. That would only delay our end. Another snapped. Aurelius raised her hand again. Silence returned. She turned to Elias. You spoke of authority, she said. Now I ask again. What exactly do you command? Every eye fixed on the human. Elias stepped forward, his movements slow and deliberate. "I command nothing lightly," he said. "Humanity learned long ago that showing power too early invites endless war. So we learn to hide it." Vethrak crossed his arms. "Hidden power is useless power." Elias met his gaze calmly. "Only until it is needed." Aurelis studied Elias carefully. "If you act," she said, "you act in the name of Valir. Any consequence will fall on my people as well as yours." "I understand," Elias replied without hesitation. That answer mattered. After a long pause, the queen nodded once. "Then you have my permission. Act." A quiet breath escaped Elias. "Thank you," he said. He turned and walked toward the chamber's communication platform. Several guards tensed, unsure whether to stop him. Aurelis made no move. Elias placed his hand on the interface. What followed confused everyone. No dramatic signal. No bright lights. No thunderous sound. Just a simple transmission. A short sequence of symbols appeared clean, precise, unfamiliar. The system hesitated, then accepted the code. The signal shot outward, beyond Valir space, far past known trade routes, into regions marked on most maps as empty. Elias stepped back. "That's it?" a general asked sharply. "For now," Elias replied. The council erupted again. "You called that power? You risked our fate on a message? This is madness." Aurelis said nothing. She watched Elias closely. "You seem relieved," she said. "Yes," Elias answered, "because now the clock has changed." Before she could ask what he meant, a warning tone echoed through the chamber. A new signal had appeared. Unknown. Massive. Multiple entries. The projections shifted. Dozens of points emerged on the far edge of the system, then hundreds. They did not arrive through normal hyperspace lanes. They seemed to step out of the void itself, as if space had opened quietly to let them through. The room fell silent. "What are those?" whispered a noble. Fleet Commander Rhynak stared at the data, his mandibles trembling. "They are not car vessels. Their energy signatures do not match any known species. The objects move slowly, deliberately, forming a wide arc between Valir space and the incoming enemy fleet." Elias spoke calmly. "Those are observers." "Observers?" Vethrak repeated sharply. "Yes," Elias said. "They are not weapons." "Not yet." The Car Dominion fleet reacted immediately. Their formation faltered. New signals burst across the system as their commanders tried to identify the newcomers. The Queen leaned forward. "Why would humans place observers in such a moment?" Elias looked at her. "Because humans believe understanding the battlefield matters more than rushing to dominate it." Moments passed. Then another signal arrived. Clear, powerful, directed at both fleets. It was a human transmission. "This is Terran Strategic Command. All vessels present are advised to halt hostile actions immediately." The voice was calm, neutral, unmistakably confident. The car commanders responded with threats, mockery, and demands. They dismissed humanity as a minor power, accused Valir of hiding behind weak allies. The human response came without emotion, hostile intent acknowledged. The observers changed. They unfolded. Sections rotated smoothly, revealing inner structures that bent light and energy in ways no Valir engineer had ever seen. Space around them seemed to compress, then stabilize. Fleet Commander Rhynak gasped. "They are altering local physics." Elias nodded slightly. "Limited control fields," he said. "Defensive for now." The car fleet opened fire. Energy weapons slammed forward, bright and violent. The attacks vanished. They did not explode. They did not deflect. They simply stopped, suspended in space like frozen light. A collective breath was drawn across the council chamber. The human voice returned. "This is your final warning. Withdraw." The car fleet hesitated. Then, foolishly, they advanced. That was when the observers stopped observing. Without explosion or spectacle, the control fields expanded. Enemy vessels found their engines failing, their weapons systems locking down, their communications collapsing into silence. Entire sections of the car fleet drifted helplessly. Others powered down voluntarily. Aurelis stood slowly, her eyes wide. This is not destruction, she whispered. It is control. Elias turned to her. Humanity does not seek annihilation. We seek outcomes. Within minutes, the invasion was over. No debris, no chaos, no victory cries, just silence. The human transmission concluded. Conflict resolved. Terran command, disengaging. The observers folded back into their neutral forms and vanished as quietly as they had arrived. The chamber remained frozen in shock. Finally, Vethrak spoke, his voice unsteady. You could have ended them. Yes, Elias replied. But then others would come. Fear multiplies enemies. Control teaches lessons. Aralis looked at him not as a political burden now, but as something far more dangerous and valuable. You came to us unarmed, she said. You let us believe you were weak. Elias met her gaze. Strength that must announce itself is rarely strong for long. Later that night, the Queen summoned Elias to her private chamber again. This time, there were no guards nearby. You changed the balance of the region today, she said. The galaxy will not ignore this. They will watch, Elias said. That is enough for now. She studied him. Were you ever in danger? Elias considered the question. Yes, but acceptable risk. Aralis shook her head slowly. You humans are unlike any species we have known. He smiled faintly. So we are often told. She stepped closer. Why marry me? Why tie your power to a single empire? Elias looked at her seriously. Because valor still believes in restraint. And because you chose alliance over conquest. The Queen felt something shift inside her, not fear, but respect. Beyond the palace walls, news spread rapidly. Across the empire, across neighboring systems, across the wider galaxy, humanity was no longer ignored, and Queen Arelis realized that the quiet human beside her was not just a shield against enemies, but a turning point in galactic history. News of the halted invasion spread faster than any official announcement. Traitors whispered. Diplomats panicked. Military councils across dozens of systems replayed the same recordings again and again. Humanity had stopped a war without firing a single visible shot, and that frightened everyone. On Valir, Queen Arelis felt the change almost immediately. Messages poured in from distant empires, some polite, some demanding, some filled with thinly veiled fear. Old allies suddenly spoke with careful respect. Former rivals asked for clarification, cooperation, and meetings. All of them wanted one thing: understanding. Inside the High Palace, another council gathered. This time, the mood was not panic. It was uncertainty. We are now a target, High Counselor Vethrak said. Not of attack, but of attention. Fleet Commander Rhynak nodded. They will test us in quieter ways. Arelis turned to Elias. Is this what humanity expected? Yes, Elias replied calmly. Attention always follows revealed capability. Then why reveal it at all? A noble asked. Elias answered without hesitation. Because hiding forever invites destruction. Revealing just enough invites caution. The Queen studied him. And if caution fails? Elias's eyes hardened slightly. Then restraint ends. That silence said more than any threat. Within days, the first test arrived. A joint diplomatic delegation from 3 powerful empires requested immediate access to Valir space. Their message was polite, but firm. They claimed concern over regional stability and requested inspections of Valir defenses and human involvement. It is an excuse, Vethrak said. They want to measure us. Arelis looked at Elias. Do we allow it? Yes, he said. But on our terms. The delegations arrived in massive ships, bristling with scanners and escorts. They were welcomed into Valir space but guided carefully along restricted paths. Human observers did not appear. No displays of power were offered. That made the visitors nervous. In the Grand Hall, Queen Arelis sat on her throne with Elias beside her. The alien ambassadors bowed, though less deeply than custom demanded. You have altered the balance of this sector, said Ambassador Krell of the Yun Compact. Naturally. We must ensure no single power threatens galactic order. Arelis's voice was steady. Valir has threatened no one. Krell's eyes shifted to Elias. Your human partner, however. Elias spoke before the queen could. Has no interest in conquest. That is what conquerors often say, another ambassador replied. Elias smiled faintly. Conquerors also tend to bring fleets. That answer unsettled them. Negotiations continued for hours. Questions, probes, thinly masked challenges. Elias answered some and ignored others. The queen watched carefully as the human's quiet confidence unsettled experienced diplomats more than aggression ever could. Still, something felt wrong. Elias felt it too. Late that cycle, as the delegations slept aboard their ships, Elias stood alone in the palace observatory, watching the stars. Queen Aurelius joined him. You sense it, she said. Yes, Elias replied. Someone is pushing the others. Who? Elias exhaled slowly. A power that fears humanity's restraint more than its strength. Before Aurelius could ask more, alarms rang again. Not invasion alarms. Internal alarms. Report! The queen ordered, as she and Elias rushed into the command chamber. A security officer spoke quickly. Multiple system failures. Defense grids disrupted. Long-range sensors blinded. This is not an external attack. This fence grids disrupted. Sabotage, Rhynak growled. Elias's eyes narrowed. Not Valir work. The projection shifted, revealing a hidden fleet emerging from stealth near a vital shipyard. Unknown vessels. Advanced, silent, aggressive. They waited until observers were gone, Vethrak said. Cowards. Aurelius turned to Elias. Can humanity respond in time? Elias hesitated. That single pause chilled her. Our nearest rapid response units are farther away, he admitted. We can still stop them, but not quietly. What does that mean? She asked. It means escalation. The unknown fleet opened fire. This time, there was no elegant suspension of weapons. Valor defenses struggled under precision strikes, designed to disable without warning. Aurelius felt anger rise. They attack from shadows and expect mercy. Elias met her gaze. Do I still have your trust? The queen did not hesitate. Yes. Elias activated his communicator. Terran command, he said calmly. Authorize protocol, Black Aegis. There was a brief pause. Then a human voice replied. Grave and certain. Authorization confirmed. Space changed. This time, the human arrival was not subtle. Massive structures emerged from controlled folds in space, sleek, dark, and unmistakably built for dominance. They did not flood the system. They placed themselves with surgical precision between Valir's heart and the attacking fleet. The enemy reacted instantly, unleashing everything they had. It did not matter. Human vessels did not block the attacks. They absorbed them. Energy vanished into layered fields. Space rippled but did not break. Aurelius stared in awe. This is different, Elias nodded. This is a shield. The human fleet responded, not with chaos, with certainty. Beams of controlled force cut through enemy formations, disabling engines, locking weapons, and exposing command cores. One by one, the attackers fell silent. Then a transmission echoed across all channels. This is Terran Strategic Command. Your attack has been witnessed. Your anonymity has failed. The hidden fleet attempted retreat. Human ships adjusted position instantly. No pursuit. No chase. Just inevitability. Within moments, the attackers were immobilized. Their leaders were identified. And their origin revealed. Aurelius clenched her claws. They are one of the empires at today's talks. Yes, Elias said quietly. They wanted to see how far restraint could be pushed. The human transmission continued. You will withdraw. You will answer for this attempt. And you will remember that humanity did not strike first. The enemy ships powered down. The human fleet remained for a moment longer, then withdrew as smoothly as it arrived. Silence followed. In the council chamber, no one spoke. Finally, Aurelius turned to Elias. They forced your hand. Yes, he replied. And now the lesson is complete. She studied him closely. What happens next? Elias met her gaze. Now the galaxy must decide whether it wants humanity as a stabilizing force or an opposing one. That night, Aralis stood beside Elias on the palace balcony again. Once, she had feared this marriage would weaken her rule. Now she understood. She had married not a weapon, but a boundary. And the galaxy had just learned where that boundary lay. The galaxy did not rush into war after the second human intervention. Instead, it slowed down. Across star systems, fleets held position instead of advancing. Borders became quiet. Messages were rewritten before being sent. Leaders who once spoke loudly now chose their words with care. Humanity had done something no empire had managed in thousands of cycles. It had made the galaxy pause. On Valir, Queen Aralis felt the shift like a change in gravity. The palace no longer felt like a fortress under siege. It felt like a center watched, measured, respected, yet peace, she knew, was never permanent. A new gathering was announced, not a threat, not a demand, an invitation. The Grand Concord Assembly, a neutral forum rarely used, called for a full session. All major powers were asked to attend, including Valir and the Terran Union. The galaxy wants answers, High Counselor Vethrak said, and reassurance. Aralis turned to Elias. Will humanity speak? Yes, Elias replied. But not as a ruler. The assembly took place in deep space, within an artificial structure older than most civilizations. Representatives arrived with escorts, but weapons remained powered down by ancient law. Queen Aralis entered with Elias at her side. The hall fell into a hush. No one laughed at the human consort now. No one whispered about weakness. At the center platform, a voice echoed. We convene to address the question before us all. Humanity. Murmurs spread. An elder representative spoke. Your kind intervened twice. You halted war. You disabled fleets. You exposed deception. The galaxy must ask why. Elias stepped forward. He did not raise his voice. He did not posture. We intervened, he said. Because unchecked fear destroys systems faster than weapons. Another voice cut in. Yet you possess weapons beyond our understanding. Yes, Elias replied simply. Because we learned early that hope alone is not protection. Aralis watched the room carefully. She saw fear but also something new, curiosity. You could rule, an ambassador said. Why not? Elias looked across the vast hall. Because ruling others is easier than ruling oneself. Humanity chose the harder path. Silence followed. Then Queen Aralis spoke. My people believed this marriage would weaken us, she said. Instead, it taught us restraint, patience, and trust. Humanity did not take our throne. They stood beside it. Her words carried weight. A proposal was raised. A new framework, shared observation zones, mutual intervention limits, transparency protocols. Humanity did not demand control. They offered cooperation. The Concord accepted, not with celebration, with relief. When the session ended, the galaxy did not erupt into praise. It simply continued steadier than before. Back on Valir, life returned to a rhythm Aralis had almost forgotten. Trade lanes reopened. Children played in the lower cities. Engineers repaired, rather than reinforced. Elias walked among the people freely. Some bowed. Some stared. Many simply watched, unsure what to make of the human who had changed their fate without ruling them. One evening, Aralis joined him on a quiet terrace. You never sought power, she said. Yet the galaxy listens to you. Elias looked at the stars. Power that seeks attention fades. Power that waits endures. She studied him. And our marriage? Was it strategy? At first, he admitted. But strategies can become something more. Aralis smiled faintly. Time passed. Years, measured in shared cycles. Valir thrived. Humanity remained present but never dominant. Their observers were known now, not feared. Conflicts still happened, but fewer turned into wars. When they did, words came before fleets. The galaxy learned a new rule. Humanity did not conquer. Humanity enforced balance. On the anniversary of the marriage, a ceremony was held. No grand display, No fleets. Just remembrance. Aurelius stood before her people. Once, she said, we believed strength was loud. That power must shine brightly to be real. We were wrong. She gestured to Elias. True power stands when it is needed, and disappears when it is not. The crowd bowed, not to a conqueror, but to a guardian. Later that night, alone in the palace, Aurelius looked at her reflection beside Elias. She remembered the shock she had felt when humanity first revealed its strength. Now, she felt something else. Gratitude. The galaxy would never be simple again, but it would be stable, because somewhere beyond the stars, humanity waited, not eager for war, not desperate for praise, but ready. And beside them stood an alien queen who once married a quiet human, and watched in awe as he redefined what power truly meant.